Hello and welcome to the first episode of basically what I would call for now sports talk with me, CT Dice, and I got here a very good friend of mine. You want to introduce yourself?
Yeah. Hi guys, my name is Albert. I'm happy to be back on this new season and first episode. Like this will be our pilot basically.
Our
So
pilot, but this is
yeah.
not the first time we're doing it. If you
Oh
check back
yeah,
on the channel,
exactly.
there was like a whole thing that we did last year as well on the channel. For this episode, we don't have a name fully set up yet, so we're going to call it Sports Talk. But just to introduce it a little bit, so me and Albert, over the course of the season, we're going to be handling different sports topics. It could be any sport, but we are mainly going to be focusing on American football, which is the NFL mainly, the NBA, basketball when that resumes, and internet or all kinds of soccer, international, European, or whatever the case might be. I got specific and special interest in African soccer as well, whenever the opportunity actually comes up. So this is going to be a whole full sports talk, and it's not just going to be me. It's going to be me and Albert over the course of the season, dissecting and talking about different sporting events. This is our pilot and first one for this season, so I'm excited. For this one, we're going to start with a couple or three things, but we're going to take a look and see how far we get into those. And we're always going to be back here to continue having our conversations with you guys. But the first thing we're going to be talking about is the excitement that comes with the start of the new NFL season, which has already begun. And we have seen two games
two
already.
great games.
Yeah. Absolutely lovely games. On Thursday, September 5th, 2024, the Kansas City Chiefs were home to the Baltimore Ravens.
Basically, a rematch of the AFC Championship game.
Yeah, basically trying to start a campaign to trip-it in the NFL. So that was fun. It ended 27-20 with basically the toes.
Yeah, exactly. It was like a toe. A toe difference.
A poor toe drag from Isaiah Likely, even though he had a fantastic game.
He had a great game
as well.
I want to watch out for sure, the tight ends for Baltimore, because I felt like they used him more than they used Andrews, Mark Andrews. Yeah, so
this might be the beginning of the end for Mike Andrews.
Yeah.
I could see him on the sideline, literally looking and being like, oh my God, this dude is probably better than me at this stage of my career. And
but again, I think that might be good for him because, he's maybe getting older. So, he might be able to get that rest and be more impactful, when his number is called.
Especially later in the season, because he also dealt with a bad injury
exactly.
ago. Yeah. So that might be useful that he's not relied on.
Because he used to be Lamar's favorite target, right?
But he was so good.
Oh, yeah.
You saw that whole, do I call it a juke move at the
the touchdown
goal line?
Yeah, the touchdown. Oh yeah, that was beautiful. Just stopped, let the guy pass, and just walked in. One highlight of the season already.
I'm telling you, that one. That was a fantastic game to kick off the NFL season. And then on Friday, September 6th, we did see the Philadelphia Eagles. Supposed to be a home game, but not really a home game.
It was a home game in Brazil.
I would say that.
It was a national home game. Yeah.
In, I think, Sao Paulo, Brazil.
Yeah.
That was an interesting game because the
Very
field
good
was
too.
Slippery.
Yes. So I don't know how the players will react to that. Maybe, I don't know, going forward, having to play on, I don't know what kind of field it was, if it was like synthetic or natural grass. So I don't know if the players would have anything to say about that. Because I know they played international games, right? They played in the UK, they played in Germany. So, and I didn't see the games turning out like that. But this one, it looked like there was a lot of slipping and sliding on the pitch. So,
I usually have a lot of grace for when things happen for the first time, right?
Yeah, it's the first.
It was the first time that the NFL has been in Brazil. So I actually just generally expect some logistical issues. From what I read up on that game, the turf that they use for the game is similar to the turf that is used in the States as well. NFL game. So it shouldn't have been so different for the players, but you never know what happens when you go thousands of miles across the ocean to go play a game. That's a logistical nightmare.
And it's interesting to know if they ever practiced on it or anything like that before the games. Yeah, just I guess get a feel of how it feels to like play on like different kind of turf. So yeah, so
Yeah,
that was definitely interesting seeing the highlights and seeing how players were like slipping and sliding a little bit, and
yeah.
yeah, I thought that was funny. But no, I know definitely the players. Some players will have something to say. Maybe even take it up with the players association or
Oh,
something. But it's
that's
something
what
that
you get.
definitely.
They want more money, right?
Oh yeah,
That's how you make the game global.
exactly.
It was a very interesting game. Just to summarize that game so that we keep going, the game ended 34-29 in favor of the Philadelphia Eagles. With the most important information coming out of that game would be the health of the
When he was walking off the pitch. But yeah, it looked painful. Definitely one that might keep him out the next
I
game,
would
I
hope
think.
2 to 4 weeks, hopefully. That
Yeah,
would be a
but definitely the
best
next
case
game.
scenario.
Yeah, yeah. But I hope he comes back, be able to like strap it up, ice it, do whatever magic they do. And, he probably doesn't miss too much time because, again, it doesn't help when they lose the first game because now it's like you don't want to go down 0-2 start the season, you know what I mean? So,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's a really good team. The play of Jaden Reed and all that on that team.
They have like their core of receivers is the one that
Four,
is
in my
it's
opinion, four very good players.
it's ridiculous how good like the receiving core is. Like just watching, and they're
Young.
so young too. Exactly, and and having a young quarterback too is a good core to kind of like develop and like grow with into the future. So no, for sure, man, Green Bay is a team to look forward to. Like 5, 10 years coming.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm just hopefully Jordan Love is doing fine. That's what I can hope. So just recapping those two games, Sunday it's gonna be very interesting. For this episode of the Sports Talk, it's the pilot episode, so excited about it. Sunday's games, we're not talking about that yet, but we're gonna do a little bit of an off-season recap to start this, just to get all of us in the frame of mind to get into the new year. So I'm going to let you, Albert, to go first to kind of talk about the top off-season storylines, and we're just going to summarize it and our thoughts. When you're done, I think you're going to handle a lot of the top storylines, and I'll just take a look at my thoughts about the rookie offensive performance in the league and the coaching changes and what I think about that across the league for that.
Yeah, oh yeah, for sure. So my top off-season moves, I guess, basing well, I guess I'm going more offensive than defensive, and like with the rookies, but yeah, so I'm going with I guess so. I guess kind of like in a chronological order, but starting from like number 5. So I think the Steelers adding quarterbacks Russell Wilson and Justin Fields. I think definitely an upgrade from what they had last season with Kenny Pickett and Mason Rudolph, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, I know it'll be interesting. Again, that kind of like has its own maybe like off-season drama, and you're thinking these are two guys that can probably start for like most teams and or I guess some teams. So it will kind of like saying that there might be some competition between them, but I think and the head coach Mike Tomlin already kind of like came out and said like Russell is going to be like the number one, to start the season. So maybe that might help. But I definitely think it's an upgrade. So it's a good thing for Steelers Nation, to see how they can, those two quarterbacks can help them, offensively, because I know like they really struggled last season. So hopefully, health on their side, we'll see how that one goes. So my next move.
Before you go ahead, if you don't mind, I just wanted to ask something. We all know for the last over 10 years, Mike Tomlin hasn't gone on the .500 record. Do
Yeah,
you
in the
think
regular
having those
season.
two quarterbacks allows him to keep up that record, considering how difficult that division is with the Cincinnati Bengals, the Cleveland Browns, and the Baltimore
Oh yeah,
Ravens?
that's the division that I think is the best in football right now. Because again, you have Cleveland Browns,
Yeah,
you have the Cincinnati Bengals, you have the Baltimore Ravens,
yeah.
and Pittsburgh Steelers. So oh yeah, like that's a division that you can see all four of them might make the playoffs. It's definitely that interesting. Um, but yeah, because then again, when you think of it, you almost play your division rivals like twice in the season, right? So it's almost like you kind of have to win like 50% of those games, just to be like in that fifty
Three,
percent record.
at least a 3-3 record in your
Yeah,
division. So
exactly.
it's
That's what I'm saying. But it's a tough ask. But I always trust Mike. You always got a good defense. As long as you have your star Russian, what's his name again? I forgot.
Najee Harris.
No, like his defensive guy.
Oh, TJ Watt.
TJ Watt, yes, yeah. As long as he has his star pass rusher TJ Watt, I think that defense will always, be one that will be, a good defense. So yeah, no, I think it's a tough task. I'm not gonna lie, but again, when you have at least one Super Bowl quarterback and one very good quarterback that you can use, I guess, in a different way, like because he has the legs, Justin Fields, to be able to run, so you can make up one or two plays with him, and no, I think definitely an improvement, and I think they should be able to keep the 500 record going for Mike Tomlin.
Okay, yeah, sure. You can go ahead. Yeah.
So yeah, so no, my next move, so Saquon Barkley, signing with the Eagles. So I think he was a free agent this time around because I think last season, the franchise tagged him for just like 11 million, and it was just like a 1 year deal. So again, I guess a bit of a controversial move in terms of going to another team in the same division, leaving the New York Giants and going to Philadelphia. But no, it's definitely one that is interesting. I like it a lot because, Saquon to me was like, if not more than 50% of like the New York Giants offense, like last season, because it was like he's a great running back and he's great with catching the ball too, like, from the backfield or even like, going forward. So yeah, I think that's almost a steal, man. Like it's a big loss for the Giants. I don't know how they go about this season offensively. I wish them all the best, but it's a big loss for them. Like Saquon, that yesterday's game, he already has 3 touchdowns, and that's like when you see him operate and obviously playing with a quarterback like Jalen Hurts that is also dynamic in terms of like the passing game and the running game, and having someone like him too that again is a great rusher, and also like a good like catcher of the ball. Yeah, I really like that move for the Eagles for sure.
And they did pay up to do it. So the Eagles actually think that that's going to be a dynamic offense.
Oh
And we
yeah, and
saw
then
that in
yeah,
Brazil.
exactly. And then obviously they already have a Smith, like the receivers AJ Brown, and they have Smith. So imagine having those two guys and now having like someone that you can trust, to still catch the ball and or run with it. Like so that offense is already looking even better than it was last season. I know they started the season on fire. They were like 10-1 to start the season, fell off toward the end. They already lost 6 out of their last 5. No, they lost 5 out of their last 6 games, and wasn't a great look. And I think they were on course for like the number one seed, kind of like getting that first week by and all that. And that thing, yeah, it just there's a way it
I,
happened, and it
I
was
think
all
a lot of things went wrong with
yeah,
the
a lot of
coaching
things.
staff.
Yeah,
They
exactly.
had
So
to
they
bring a
had
new
lost.
offensive
They had lost
coordinator.
their offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator from going to the Super Bowl, right? Like the previous year. So, um, yeah, no, I think this season they're looking better. Hopefully they can improve again defensively too, because last season they were not as good. Like I think their secondary was really like suspect, but hopefully they made those kind of changes, those kind of adjustments, and but offensively I think they should be more than all right. So in case there's a game where like the defense can carry them, hopefully the offense can take them through. And yeah, so that was my I guess
Second
my
biggest.
second biggest offseason. So the third one for me is Stevan Diggs, being traded from Buffalo Bills and landing in Houston now. I think it's a big move because obviously he's one of the top wide receivers in the league. He was like the number one receiver in Buffalo, but I know like it was weird, but because there was like always kind of like friction with him and Josh Allen, right? Throughout the season, like you can see them like on the sidelines and all that, which I guess it wasn't great seeing like your star receiver and the quarterback having that kind of like fractured kind of like relationship, even if he was on camera.
Like
um
tension. Yeah.
yeah, exactly, there's that tension between them. So I guess it was something that was inevitable in a way, because I know even like midway through the season there's like talk, maybe his brother that plays with the Dallas Cowboys is saying something like get his brother out of there, those kind of things, and so you can already see the drama that was kind of like building from the regular season until like this offseason. So when I saw that move and he had left and he had, they had traded him to Houston, I wasn't really surprised. I guess it was inevitable in a way at that point. So nobody's a great addition for the Houston Texans, because obviously their quarterback CJ Stroud, he had a great like rookie season, right? So, and then adding a veteran star wide receiver in Stephon Diggs, I will only assume that it elevates that offense even more. So definitely want to look at and look forward to how they, I guess, all gel, playing together this season. So that was my third biggest, and so my second biggest offseason move is the Chiefs, basically.
That'll be the fourth biggest.
Oh, the fourth, sorry.
Yeah.
So the fourth. So the Chiefs improving like their pool of wide receivers, right? So last season they had the rookie Rashid Rice. So he was like the top guy, but him being a rookie, I guess they didn't start off with him being, I guess, maybe like their go-to guy, but like as the season progressed, he became like that kind of like number one option for them. So obviously it's good to have him there still, and going into his second season, he's already like used to the offense, and Patrick throwing him the ball, but them being able to add Marquise Brown, a speedy wide receiver, a veteran, obviously, in the league, and then, drafting Javier Worthy. I guess, not guess, but like, so he had the fastest time in the combine running the four.
Ever, yeah.
Yeah,
4-2-1.
yeah. So that's really, so speedster.
And we already seen the speed.
Exactly, two
Two
touchdowns
touchdowns.
in the first game, right?
Both
So
touchdowns just showed his
impressive,
speed. One
impressive.
rushing, one receiving,
Yeah.
and just
They were both impressive.
everybody. You can definitely see he's the fastest guy in the field.
Oh yeah. So that, and again, I think Patrick was talking about it was just having those different playmakers, because I know Andy Reid and him, Patrick Mahomes, they love to play just different kinds of like formations and all that, and they like to play with the offense basically. So be it with the tight ends or like their wide receivers, running backs, and so it's just, I guess, it's nice for Patrick to like have all those weapons, like assortment of weapons. I know last season they had a lot of like dropped passes, and it almost like was making making news every day how many dropped passes that they had, and that was kind of like again affecting, I guess, the quarterback stats, was like incompleted, like incomplete
They
passes.
still won the Super Bowl.
They still won. That's what I'm saying. So like,
how can you be so average offensively and still win the Super Bowl? That's Patrick Mahomes.
Ridiculous. And then they resigned, Juju that was there. The Super Bowl they won before this most recent one. So
Juju dropped a pass. I was so disappointed. I don't know how much
game. Yeah, in the game. But again, he's a guy that he's played in that offense, so he kind of like, and again, he's a veteran. So I don't think they'll call his number every time, but when they do, he'll probably be able to like help them out. So I think that upgrade, and again, getting rid of players like Kadarius Toney, and I think they let Michael Hardman too. That, I guess, basically won the Super Bowl for them. They let him go too, and so yeah, just adding this new group of wide receivers, to Patrick, that is something that the NFL has to look out for, basically, because Patrick is
it's gonna be a Patrick Mahomes here, guys.
He's the best quarterback in the league for a reason, and him and Andy Reid, the offensive genius that Andy Reid is. I can only imagine them just having all those options, and it's like new toys for them to work with, basically, in that offense. So
the sweep, like just like the Xavier Wardy first touchdown, that whole ability to just fake it.
Yeah.
What if they still had Michael Hardman and they could do it with both of them, reverse on both sides?
Yeah,
that would have been interesting.
Yeah, definitely. And and not to talk of Pacheco. Like I just like everything about the guy, man. The guy runs violently. Like he is like, he doesn't care for his life. And again, he's another guy that is dynamic enough to be able to run out the backfield with the ball, also catch it. And so, man, yeah. So again, having that group of wide receivers now for the Chiefs, definitely an improvement from last year. I don't see them being as bad as last year, basically. And
offensively, they were the Super Bowl champions.
Yeah, exactly. Offensively,
so wild.
So having speedsters now, basically, guys that can get in behind, make Mahomes throw those deep balls, and be able to make the plays. Also, they had the Valdez Scantling too that they let go. So no, like I think it's, and we didn't even talk of Travis Kelce, right? The all reliable, future Hall of Fame tight end that they have there. So definitely interesting, wide receiver improvements there that was made by the Chiefs. And I guess my favorite offseason move is Derrick Henry, as I call him, King Henry, going to Baltimore. He was a free agent, leaving Tennessee. So I thought like teams like Dallas, we were going to like pick him up because they didn't have like, I guess, a number one, I would say, like a running back. And he wasn't, because I think his deal was like 16 million for like 2 years, so like average of like 8 million a year. So he wasn't a guy that was like, you had to break the bank to get. So I was wondering why teams were not really clamoring for him. But again, this is a 6 foot
Maybe age
six.
too.
I mean, I know the age, but hey, this guy is a tank. You know what I'm saying? Like, 250 pounds soaking wet coming at you. I think you do anything to get him. But the reason I like that movie a lot is, again, we know, to me, Lamar is the most dynamic quarterback, in my opinion, in the league. I don't. Lamar is so smooth. Like when I watch him play, like I'm in awe every time I see him. I know, like, he has this criticism of not going all the way in the postseason and all that, but when you watch Lamar play, I'm genuinely scared when I think, because he's so smooth with the ball, like the way he moves. And again, this is a quarterback, so obviously, he's got great arm too. He can throw the ball down the field, and you know having like a wide receiver, Zay Flowers. I know, like, he was a rookie coming into his second year now, and again, that guy is something special too. Like, Zay Flowers is something special for sure.
The speed.
The speed, ridiculous, right? So now imagine putting King Henry like behind Lamar, and now you have to pick basically like like who do you stop? Because it can be a trick play. You think Henry is going to get the ball, Lamar takes off. So it will be a nightmare, I think, for like defensive coordinators trying to figure out like how to stop like that dynamic duo in the backfield in Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry. So and now it almost feels like, to me, if you ask me, like they're anything third and one, third and two, I feel like it will almost be like Phillies tush push. It will almost be automatic, because now you really have to think: am I going to let Derek get the ball? Am I going to let Lamar? Because any of them can get you that 1 2 years that you need, right? So for me, that is my favorite offseason move. Derek Henry. I know he's older, and again, what makes it even more beautiful is I know like the whole offense won't depend on him the way it was when he was in Tennessee, right? Like when he was with the Titans. So I can just imagine him being, just getting rest on the sideline, and when he call his number, like he's ready to go. So it will be a beautiful and dynamic offense from Baltimore. Coming into the season. I know they lost the first game, unfortunately, but again, they still have that defense, and I don't see the offense getting any worse than it was last season. So,
And I think we saw the Russian attack against the Kansas City Chiefs. Steve
and
Spagnuolo,
and I
which
don't
is
think the Chiefs had really much of an answer to it.
more NFL teams would struggle with it because
Exactly.
here Lamar is accounting for 122 rush yards.
Rushing yards.
Derrick Henry might not have had the best game on the ground, but he got a touchdown.
He got a touchdown, and he gave them a very vital like third and two, or like, yeah.
Yeah.
So
So people might look at it like Lamar is going to create space for Derrick Henry, but I think either way, it's either Lamar is creating space for Derrick Henry if you're like, I'm going to stop Lamar, or if you're like, I'm going to stop Derrick Henry, now Lamar is going to cut you up. So the league would have to deal with that combination of speed and power.
I feel bad for defensive coordinators, because they will have their work cut out for them, game planning for these guys. And again, they lost their first game. It was close. They could have won. They could have gone to overtime. Anything could have happened. But I'm just saying, like, imagine them playing 4 or 5 games together, actually figuring it out. And now the season is like halfway through, and now we're getting to the postseason. It will be beautiful. It will
That
be a
would be
beautiful
so
thing to do.
useful in the postseason.
Oh yeah,
Because if they can keep Derrick Henry fresh in December, when
exactly.
the weather kind of turns down,
That's when
and
they need him.
linebackers and safeties don't want to tackle as much,
That's when you need him.
I like what they did in the first game. Derrick Henry's workload should be less because you notice that Justice Hill got most of the passing down work,
Yep.
most of the game, got
Yeah.
over 50 yards receiving
Yeah.
from the running back. If I'm Baltimore, I'd keep his workload really low, 15 to 20
Oh yeah,
carries.
definitely
probably.
won't be as much as you had to do for Tennessee, right? When he was with the Titans, definitely won't. I don't even think you'll be half of that. So, and again, just goes to basically help preserve him for like the big games, and as well when the postseason comes around. So it's I don't see anything wrong with the movement, to be honest. Like it's a great move, like all around the way I can think of it. And again, like super like great improvement for Baltimore's offense going forward. And yeah, like it's one that really excites me. So my honorable mentions for my, I guess, top season off season moves will be the Atlanta Falcons being able to sign Kirk Cousins from the Minnesota Vikings. So I know, like last season, the quarterback play for them wasn't, yeah, it wasn't much to talk about, I guess. And so definitely getting a veteran quarterback that, again, has been there long enough. In the regular season, at least you can trust him to, be able to like help your team get those W's. And him, working with this, pool of like wide receivers that they have, and almost kind of like calling them veterans now in Drake London and tight end Kyle Pitts. So, I see the offense being better. I guess we'll talk about like their
It
division
isn't
going.
anybody in the NFL better than having Desmond Reader as your starter.
Yeah, exactly. So for sure, I know he's coming off of an Achilles. Is it an Achilles or
I
ACL
know it is a
injury?
really bad injury, either
Yeah,
Achilles or
ACL.
ACL.
Yeah, so he's
I
coming
mean,
off of
yeah.
that. So hopefully he can be, 80-90% of himself, and definitely see him helping Atlanta a lot. And I guess my last honorable mention for the top offseason moves is wide receiver Keenan Allen being traded from the Chargers to Chicago to the Chicago Bears. I like the move a lot too because having the number one overall pick in a quarterback in Caleb Williams, and adding Keenan Allen again, veteran wide receiver in the league, knows the ins and outs of the game, and um, just being able to help the I guess the rookie quarterback, and adding to DJ Moore that is already there, another like star wide receiver that they have there. So again, I see the offense getting better, at least better than it was last season, and so I really like that move too for the Chicago Bears, and adding Keenan Allen.
Yes. So so those were really interesting. I would say those were all very interesting moves in the offseason. In terms of those big offseason moves, just the one I wanted to add to that is significant to me would be the retirement of Aaron Donald for the LA Rams. I
Yeah,
think he was a spectacular defender. I'm not sure
three-time
what
defensive player of the year.
yeah, I'm not sure what to think of the LA Rams defense this year. How good is Kobe Turner, the rookie last year that was excellent because he was playing next to Aaron Donald. So
Yeah.
that would be one that I actually put on there and be like, I'm so curious to see how much it takes away from that defense or see how brilliantly Sean McVay can actually put that defense to compete this year. I know the offense is going to be good with Sean McVay, Matthew Stafford, Cooper Cup, and Puka Nakua. So that would be interesting. That was one I'm going to actually add. But for basically for me, the offseason moves that I just wanted to talk about here would be coaching changes, notable coaching changes, and rookies that are going to be impacting, especially offensively in the league. So I'm just going to begin with rookies before I talk about coaching changes. The number one pick this year was Caleb Williams for the Chicago Bears. The first thing I'm going to note about this rookie is that first of all, he's the number one overall pick. So there's a lot of high expectation. The talent is there. If you watched him in college, he was an excellent quarterback with little to no defense in USC. But I think the interesting thing about him being the number one pick is that he's not your regular number one pick. Chicago Bears wasn't the worst team in the NFL last year. They had a record of 7-10. So your number one pick usually goes to a really, really poor team. So I think a lot of people are looking at him like a regular rookie. It's not because he's not going to do regular rookie mistakes, but he's not going into a very bad team the way I would consider other top picks in the 2024 NFL draft to be going in. So I actually have a lot of expectation for him because I don't think I look at him like any other rookie. Other rookies don't get three current, past, and future maybe all pro players in your receiving room. So I wouldn't be looking at it that way. He has a veteran in Keenan Allen to help guide and help him in the slot in the league. You got DJ Moore, a superstar wide receiver, signed to a big deal as a wide receiver. And you have a promising top 10 wide receiver pick in Rome Odunze, which in many assessments could have gone top 5, top 6 as well as a receiver. So in my opinion, there's no team in the league that has a combination of such three players at their disposal. So when I look at Caleb Williams, I would say a winning record is the minimum he can do better in this season. I think he's going to be excellent. The only thing he needs to do is not make big mistakes. The defense was improving last year. They got a top cornerback in Jalen Johnson on that back end, basically a shutdown corner on that team. So I expect the Chicago Bears to be pretty good. In my opinion, I think they should win 10 or more games. Not because I think Caleb Williams is not going to make mistakes, but it's because I think the team in general can overcome that mistake in general. So that's what I think about Caleb Williams. I'm going to go to the number 2 overall pick, which is Jaden Daniels out of LSU, going to the Washington Commanders football team in the NFL. So for Jaden Daniels, obviously now this is your typical kind of rookie, talented guy, excellent with his legs. It reminds me of a little Kyler Murray, a little Lamar Jackson in terms of his speed, just straight up speed, but also was able to throw deep balls in college to Malik Neighbors, and they had a great connection. So he can actually throw the ball deep. I think he's an excellent player, but this is your typical rookie position for me. Poor, bad team. The defense is not as good. Dan Quinn, the new coach coming from the Dallas Cowboys, would improve the defense, but that might take a few years for that to happen. Is he going to be good? I think he's going to have an excellent rookie season. Maybe if you think of Robert Griffin kind of season in Washington, but would that mean that they are really going to be competitive and maybe make the playoffs? I don't think they might be able to make the playoffs. Win 7, 8 games and everything feels good. That's a possibility in Washington this year for Jaden Daniels. The 3rd overall pick, Drake May, going to the New England Patriots. Obviously, the team didn't think he was ready, making Jacoby Brissett the starting quarterback for the season. In my opinion, smart move. You might not like it. You're like, he got to learn by fire. No, he doesn't have to learn by fire. This offensive line is horrible. He's going to get injured. I know we don't want this on any player, but that offensive line at least needs to get some chemistry before you throw the young quarterback out there. Jacoby Brissett is basically the lamb that's going to get slaughtered behind this offensive line, in my opinion, for the New England Patriots. What do I think of the rookie? I think he needs time to develop. He wasn't that great in college, in my opinion. Has excellent physical attributes, but was he able to make great decisions in college coming out of North Carolina? No, I wouldn't actually say that. So I think it's a good decision to let him sit back. Maybe the offensive line improves over the course of the season, and Jacoby Brissett takes the beating as a veteran. He's a big body, so he can take it a little bit better and maybe manage that offense and not get routed every week, which I think they're going to lose by 20 or more almost every week, starting from the Cincinnati Bengals, basically scoring 35 points. And who knows if they score a point in that game for Drake May. The other big first round picks that I want to talk about quickly, and I'm going to try to be quicker with this so that I can get to the offensive players I just want to get through, are the quarterbacks. The other one would be JJ McCarthy to the Minnesota Vikings. He got injured before the season start, so we're going to have to wait to see how good he is. Didn't have a huge offensive role in Michigan, winning the championship from college, but we're going to see when he recovers to see how he actually does. Kevin O'Connell, the coach of the Minnesota Vikings, I respect him. I think he's a great mind. He got Josh Dobbs in 24 hours and was able to win an NFL game as the coach for Josh Dobbs in less than 24 hours of him coming in. He can scheme up for anybody. The other rookie quarterback that is notable to talk about would be Michael Penix. He's going to be behind Kirk Cousins in Atlanta. That's a beautiful 1-2 punch to have as your quarterbacks, Kirk Cousins and Michael Penix. I think it would help him to learn. Jordan Love had to sit 2 years, and he's pretty good right now. So I think Michael Penix can also learn. Is he ready to start right away? I would say probably if Bo Nix is going to start and Jaden Daniels is going to start. But getting to that situation has a lot of advantages for him to learn before he steps into the field. And then the last quarterback taken in the first round of 2024 draft was Bo Nix going to the Denver Broncos. This is an excellent pick, in my opinion. This is exactly what Sean Payton wants. He wants a guy that is going to sit down, be in the pocket, basically, and execute his offense just like Drew Brees did. So I think he got his guy. It's going to be a big learning curve, but I think closer to the end of the season, they're going to be a much better team with Bo Nix as a quarterback. People actually forget. Last season looked so bad because the Denver Broncos lost 70, no, I think 1,000-0. Like, so they could probably consider 1,000 points to the Miami Dolphins. Like all I see right now is Devon Achane and Raheem Mostert basically running circles around the Denver Broncos in 2023. But the important thing to note is that this team was won over 8 games last season. They were not as bad as it would seem when you remember that game against the Miami Dolphins in 2023. So I think this year they are going to be decent, and their division is very bad. I think that's the important thing. Bo Nix is going to have a chance to play against the LA Chargers, that are, in my opinion, is one of the worst teams in the league, if not for Jim Harbaugh being their coach. And then the Las Vegas Raiders with Gardner Minshew as the quarterback. So they have 4 games there that they are not going to be underdogs, in my opinion, against any of those 2 teams this season. So that will be interesting for Bo Nix. And I'm going to take a look at the offensive talents. Albert, you already talked about Xavier Wardy, so I'm going to start with that before I get to the other dynamic players. The speedster. So Xavier Wardy, we all know he's going to impact the Kansas City Chiefs by stretching the field for them. Last year, they didn't have the player to stretch the field, and that affected the offense. We can already see it, 2 touchdowns in his first game to kick off the NFL season for 2024. And then I'm going to go to the number 4 overall pick, Marvin Harrison Jr. for the Arizona Cardinals. And I think he's going to be really good. People didn't talk about him much because we all expect him to be good. I think he's going to be good. When NFL players see how good this guy can contort his body, it's going to be wild to the cornerbacks and safeties that are going to try to keep up with him. He is really good. He's not just a speed star. He has this incredible ability to actually move and make cuts on the field. So that would be interesting for Marvin Harrison. And then one of my opinion, the dynamic player in this draft, which is Malik Neighbors for the Giants, probably the most dynamic and intrinsically very talented wide receiver in this class, going to a poor team. He's going to struggle because of the quarterback play, but if you give him a chance, he's going to be out there making plays. And if you can give him some deep balls, cornerbacks, watch out. And then Rome Odunze in Chicago, big body, going to be, at some point in his career, is going to be a 10 touchdown plus wide receiver in this league. And I think learning from Keenan Allen, I look at him as a Mike Evans kind of receiver as he kind of improves in the league for Rome Odunze. So yeah, those are the players I'm thinking about as rookies. And then to quickly just conclude the top storylines would be the coaching changes in the NFL over the offseason. I'm going to look at the 2 big names that actually got relieved of their duties, Bill Belichick in New England and Mike Vrabel for the Tennessee Titans. Bill Belichick, longtime New England Patriots coach, Super Bowl multiple, 6 over 6. I think 6.
6 Super Bowls with Tom Brady and the New England Patriots.
Yeah, so 6 Super Bowls. So they're going to miss him. There's no way Jerome Mayo is better than him. He was able to keep, even with a poor team, had a top 10 defense in 2023. They're not going to have a top 10 defense. They are worse. Their offense is going to suck. So it's going to be a transition period. I don't think anybody thought that they would win right away, but it's going to be worse, and they're going to miss him a lot. Then for the Tennessee Titans, Mike Vrabel leaving Tennessee, I think the most important thing about Tennessee is that they wanted to go in a different direction. Mike Vrabel coaches in a specific way. He wants to run the ball with Derrick Henry. And I think that's why they let Derrick Henry too go, is if there's no Mike Vrabel, he built his offense around the kind of player that Derrick Henry was. So it was okay to let him go while you try to reinvent your team with Brian Callahan, who brought his dad over from the Cleveland Browns offensive line to now be the coach, offensive line coach for the Tennessee Titans. So the offensive line is going to be probably really good because his dad is pretty good at coaching the offensive line in the NFL.
And like I guess Pete Carroll will be the last one. Yeah,
Yes,
well,
Pete
another
Carroll
big
would be
change
the big,
for Seattle.
yeah.
Yeah.
But the interesting thing about Pete Carroll's change is the fact that I think that the new coach is actually an excellent coach. Mike McDonald, coming from the Baltimore Ravens, who had the top two defense in the NFL last season. Pete Carroll, in my opinion, they just wanted to change things up, get a younger person in there. He has been a very successful coach for the Seattle Seahawks. So that's through three major changes in terms of coaches. Like, if you follow the NFL, you're going to notice very fast that you don't see those three guys on the sideline. Amongst all three guys that I just mentioned, I think Mike McDonald replacing Pete Carroll in Seattle would be the fastest to succeed. The other two situations might take a little while to actually get going. Just quick mentions of all the other coaching changes. There is the one in Carolina, Dave Canales, coming from the offensive coordinator from Tampa Bay to become the head coach at the Carolina Panthers. Might take a while, decent offensive mind. And then you have Brian Callahan becoming the coach of the Tennessee Titans as well, taking over from Mike Vrabel. So it's going to be interesting. Those are the major changes. There were others, but those are the major ones wanted to point out for the NFL. And then we're going to proceed and get to the final topic. We want to talk about the NFL in this episode would be, we're going to pick our preseason. Yes, 2 games has been played. Yes, I know that 2 games have been played, but we're still going to call this the preseason picks for all divisions, who we think are going to be division winners, why we think they're going to be division winners, and then pick our championship game matchup preseason, and then finally the Super Bowl. And of course, everything is open to change. Everything can be adjusted as the season goes on, but I want to put it in there what the preseason picks will be. So I'll start with you, Albert.
Oh yeah, so I'll start with the AFC East. So I have the Jets winning the division. Obviously, having Buffalo there, having the Miami Dolphins as well. Obviously, I think it will be a close one for sure. But you know, I just trust their defense. That's a great defense that they have there, and again having one of the greatest quarterbacks in Aaron Rodgers. Again, he's coming back from like an ACL injury, but I think he's going to be motivated, because people have been, talking a lot and, off season, drama and all that. So I think he'll be motivated. And again, I really, really trust that defense. So, a combination of Aaron Rodgers coming back and that great defense that they have, I see them peeping, I guess both the Bills and the Dolphins to winning the division. Any thoughts? Do you just continue?
Oh yeah, you can go ahead. Oh,
Okay.
I'm gonna give my. Okay, we'll do it this way. I'm gonna give my AFC East pick as well. Then we can go through the divisions that way. For the AFC East, I think I would go with the New York Jets as well. The interesting thing about this division to me is that the Jets won 7 games last year, and I just think the defense won all 7 games.
Exactly.
In my opinion, whether it's Aaron Rodgers, whether it's Tyrod Taylor coming in, they're going to be a better offense
And they
this
didn't
year.
give up more than I think 20 points in the
No,
game, something like that. So all they need Aaron Rodgers to do is to just score 21 points, and the defense would not let more than 20. So when you average it out, I think it's a good way to think of them as actually being able to get a few more wins than they did last season for sure.
oh yeah, so I totally agree with that. I think I'm not a huge fan of the dysfunction of the Jets in terms of signing Hassan Reddick, and you are not sure if you wanted to pay him or not. I think there's a lot of dysfunction going on there. For their coach Robert Saleh, I think he's a guy that talks a lot, just a lot of word salad. I don't know if he actually has the X and O's of actually understanding how to be a head coach. Pretty good defensive coordinator, head coach. I'm not so sold on him at all.
But I guess that's where he's going to have help with Aaron Rodgers and obviously playing with his former offensive coordinator from the Green Bay and Nathaniel Hackett. So I think he can almost kind of like trust those two guys to kind of like, run the offense for
But
him if he's, going to be more focused on the defense,
defense.
like obviously,
But,
right?
but, but that's
So,
also my criticism, right? Allowing Aaron Rodgers to run the team, that means you're not the head coach. Nathaniel Hackett was had a good relationship with Aaron Rodgers. This is a former MVP. Aaron Rodgers is a talented guy. I don't see why he only can get through to Aaron Rodgers to make your offense good when, in my opinion, he's not really that great of an
no,
offensive
like you
coordinator.
said, there is that dysfunction with the Jets, right? But I guess for them, they just have to figure out how to make the best of the dysfunction that is in the in the organization.
Do you
So,
know what I think? I think they're going to be very good, but they're going to find a way to mess it up in the playoffs.
well, yeah, like, exactly.
You know
It
when
will
they
be,
say what can go wrong would go wrong?
yeah, no, like things like
Little things.
if things like if your team is not like a well-oiled machine, going into the postseason, obviously, like if there are any cracks, it will definitely be exposed in the postseason, right? Like, don't see them going all the way to like the Super Bowl or anything like that. So,
Oh yeah, so yeah, you can go ahead with your next
yeah.
division
All
pick.
right. So my next I guess so next division, the AFC North. I have the Baltimore Ravens. Obviously, I again when my favorite offseason move is Derrick Henry going to Baltimore. I have them winning the AFC North again. I guess repeating from last year. I guess is it remains to be seen if they will have the number one seed in the AFC, which I think will go to Kansas, Kansas City Chiefs, in my opinion. But I do see them winning. I know again that's to me the best division in the league right now, having
The,
having the Steelers, having and the Bengals, and having
the Browns.
the Cleveland Browns too. So yeah, no, it definitely won't be an easy one. But again, I really like that offense. They still have a good defense, and I see them retaining their division title.
This is a tough one for me. This is a really, really tough one for me. I don't think it's Pittsburgh. I think they
Nope.
can go over 8 wins, but I don't think they go well over double digits. The Cleveland Browns, it's a really well coached team by Kevin Stefanski.
Oh yeah.
Now they did lose their offensive line coach, which is that basically Bill Callahan to the Tennessee Titans. So that would affect their always reliable run game
Yeah.
usually.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure how reliable it's going to be. Nick Chubb is still out off of that bad, horrible injury. So I don't know how that run game is, and I can't trust Deshaun Watson. So not Cleveland, even though I think their coach is amazing at what he does.
And they have a great defense.
And they have the absolute best defensive coordinator, in my opinion, in Jim Schwartz, running that defense. Now, it's now between the Baltimore Ravens and Cincinnati Bengals. So I guess I would make it just simple. I would say the Baltimore Ravens would be my pick, and that's only because Joe Burrow was out last year. That defense,
Exactly. Yeah.
that defense sucked.
Yeah, for sure. No, I was going to go with the Bengals if Joe, because again I'm looking at continuity, right? Like Lamar, we know usually used to get injured like in the season, but like last season, he had a good season, won the MVP, was able to play through the playoffs. I guess this season, continued adding, Derrick Henry still have a good defense. So yeah, just having that continuity from last season, that's why I'm picking the Ravens. Because again, like with Joe is just coming back from that injury. We all know he's a great quarterback in the league. He has his weapons, offensively. So yeah, I guess I'm just going with Baltimore because again they have that continuity. Who it's not like I don't think the Cincinnati Bengals will suffer in any sense of the word. I think they could finish second in the division, in my opinion. Maybe them and the Cleveland Browns fight for it, but yeah.
I actually have thoughts about that. I think they could be the team that disappoints in that division. I think Pittsburgh finds a way to win 9 games. Cincinnati is the team that could win 6 games or win 11 games, in my opinion.
I
It,
see them more of winning 11 more than
you think
six.
so?
Yeah, yeah. Obviously, like they have to figure out whatever is going on right now with the contract situation with Jamar Chase.
Yep.
Hopefully that gets figured out. Obviously, because obviously without him, they're not they won't be like the same offense, right? So if they have all that figured out before the season starts, then yeah,
I'm concerned about their defense. Last year, Joe Burrow wasn't there, but it made people ignore that their defense didn't do their own job, right? They
yeah,
did win 9 games, I think, 8 or 9 games last year. So they
yeah,
did win games. So that was not the point. But if you take a look at the defensive rankings, they were at the bottom third of the whole league. So they didn't hold up their own end, even if Joe Burrow wasn't there. In general, when you look at the Jets holding up their own end,
yeah, yeah,
no matter what happens. So that's my own criticism of them. But as you said, I think Baltimore is just as good or better than last season. So I
yeah.
have absolutely no reason. What I would say about Baltimore, I think they can survive it, but their defense is going to be way worse than last year, losing Mike McDonald, the defensive coordinator.
Coordinator.
When I
Yeah.
say way worse, I'm saying going from number 1 to number 10. So 10 might
Being
not be the
top, being
worst.
top 10, like with
Yes, they
defense,
might
top
not
10
be top
defense.
10,
Yeah,
but offensively, they're going to be just as good and better with
yeah.
Zay Flowers becoming better, Isaiah
Say,
Likely probably
yeah,
becoming better now,
yeah.
and Derrick Henry being added to the team. So yeah, you can go to the next division. Yeah.
Yeah, so the next division will be the AFC South. So I have the Houston Texans retaining their title from last season. Really, I can't really think of anybody else in the division that I would say would give them a run for their money. Obviously, with them again improving offensively with the addition of Stefan Diggs from Buffalo. So yeah, I think that one is a pretty safe one to say that they're just going to retain that division.
Yeah, for me, a little bit more difficult. This was between the Jacksonville Jaguars for me and the Houston Texans. Houston Texans seemed to have a very good year last year, but they ended up with 10 wins. The Indianapolis Colts was 1 game away from actually winning that division last year with Gardner Minshew at 9-8. So this is actually a very interesting one because I think the coach of the Indianapolis coach is one of my favorite coaches in the league, Shane Steichen. With Gardner Minshew winning 9 games was incredible job last year. Now he gets Anthony Richardson, hopefully for a full season. So this was a little. There's Indianapolis, there's Jacksonville, there's Houston. Tennessee is going to be a little bit better, even though I think they're going to be the last team in the division. The thing with me in this division is that I don't think any of them is great. Houston might be the best among the pack, but I just think they're probably all around really good. All three of them, apart from the Tennessee Titans, are just really good.
I guess what I'll say for that is the quarterback, right? With CJ Stroud, obviously had a great, rookie season. This being his second year, and from what he's shown me from last season, I only see him getting better, right? So in terms of just rating the quarterbacks there, I know there's Trevor Lawrence, but I guess he's not bad, but I don't rate him that much, to be honest.
Me too.
If I was to pick, for me, like the best quarterback in the division, I would say is CJ Stroud, even if he's just a second year player.
Yeah, for now I would say that, but something always comes to me. You can surprise the league, but this year he's got to show it. Now
Yes,
defensive coordinators would have
would
faith
have fame
on
on
him.
him.
And
Yep,
what I'm
yep.
concerned about is that he's not so mobile. What happens when they start showing him new defensive looks and he has to maneuver these defenses? Would he be as good as he was last year? Because there's always a regression to the mean, in my opinion. He was a rookie and he was fantastic.
Yeah.
Usually you get the uptick or you get the stay where you are or a downtick in those kind of superb years. In my opinion, if he repeats what he did last year, they would be like 12-5. But I think even if he plays exactly like last year, they will still be a playoff team, in my opinion. So it's kind of interesting because you just don't want him to regress in his development.
Yeah, no, and no, to that, I think again, not just the offense, right? Because I know we focusing on
Yeah,
the offense, but I think defensively too, they got better. We
and
getting,
Demeco Ryans is
yeah,
really good.
exactly. So defensively, I think they improved. Getting, I forgot his name,
Daniel Hunter.
the pass rusher.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think there'll be an improvement there. Not being giving up too many points or anything like that. So I think defensively, offensively, again, fair point you make there, saying, obviously now people have tape, defensive coordinators, having tape on him not being great with his legs, but I think he can do as much damage from the pocket as possible. And again, having,
He has a good offensive line with Laramie Tunsil as his left
exactly,
tackle as well.
yep. So, and again, reliable, I'll say, core of, wide receivers.
Yep.
So, yeah, I'll still go with the Texans,
Oh
but
yeah,
it's definitely one
yeah.
that,
I
like you said, is not all super guaranteed. But yeah,
Yeah, I agree. I would go with the Houston Texans. The only point I wanted to make is that I don't think the gap is that much. It's just that if he's better, they can win 12, 13 games.
yeah,
And I don't think Indianapolis or Jacksonville can win that. So I think I would have to go with them. And they can still win 10 games and still win the division. You know what I mean?
yeah,
So that's how I
exactly.
actually look at it. So I agree. I agree with that, but I do have some regression concerns. I think that's just what I think is that I have some regression concerns, but they can only be better if you look at the weapons and what they added to that team as well. Then your next one. So I think we have agreed on all three picks so far.
So
I think
far,
we're going to
yeah.
disagree soon, but let's go.
Yeah, no, for sure. This next one we're definitely going to agree again because the AFC West and
Yeah.
Kansas City Chiefs. I don't think there's much to say there. Like you said, um, you know, Las Vegas Raiders, nothing to write home about. The Denver Broncos will be better, I guess. With their rookie quarterback, but and then the Chargers, we don't really know what's going to happen. I know they got Jim Harbaugh from Michigan. But again, they have a good quarterback there in what his name?
Justin Herbert.
Justin Herbert. Yes, Justin Herbert. But they've lost, I guess, his favorite wide receiver and
Mike Williams as well.
Mike Williams. Also, their running back
Austin Eckler.
Austin Eckler. So I don't know what to write home about their offense. So yeah, yeah, Kansas City all the way for that one. There's really not much to argue. I mean, to even talk about there. To be
I have
honest,
no
yeah,
analysis for these guys. Kansas
yeah,
City wins the AFC West. I have no analysis for it. There's nothing else I can say. Patrick Mahomes is the coach, and Patrick Mahomes is the quarterback of the Kansas City Chiefs, and Reid is the coach, and they win that division. They just win that division. Everybody there knows it. They'll win it. So we're gonna go to the NFC conference, and you can go ahead with the division picks for that.
Alrighty. So for the NFC, we'll start with the East. So I have the Eagles. I have the Philadelphia Eagles winning the division. I know the Dallas Cowboys over the past 3 seasons have had at least 12 wins, and it's funny how I think over the past 3 or 4 years, they've had like a different division winner. Like it's either like the Eagles or the like they've kind of like been going back and forth who wins the division. So just because Dallas won it last year, I think that run continues where they will always have a different winner. So I think this year the Eagles, and again last year the Eagles, they started the season 10-1, right? Thinking they were going to like secure it again, and somehow they just fell through, and Dallas went ahead and secured the division. So this year, I see them again with the addition of Saquon Barkley. Their defense getting better, I think, than last season. I do see them winning that division. Definitely nothing to write home about the Giants
And
and Washington. So I think it's pretty safe to say it's between them and the Dallas Cowboys, and um, might be a coin toss, but I'll go with the Eagles.
yeah, for me, it's gonna be the Eagles. Don't want to do a lot of analysis on that. I just think the Dallas Cowboys, with all the drama going on with Dak Prescott's contract, CD Lamb securing his contract recently, having literally no running back that I trust on that
Bringing
team,
back Zeke, yeah.
bringing back Zeke, Rico Daldo, not really something to be excited in the running game. Their defense is still going to be just as good, but I think Philly here improved significantly. And in that division, it's tough to win back to back division titles. So I would say Eagles as well.
Yeah, no. So the next one will be the NFC North, and I'm going with the Detroit Lions to retain the division. So they hadn't won it in a long, long time. I forgot how many years it was before they had last they won the division. But I do have them retaining the division title this year. Well, obviously now Green Bay is compromised, right? Like you'll be looking at Green Bay to be the ones to kind of like fight them for the division title. But now with Green Bay being compromised, Chicago,
Yeah,
nothing to write home about really. And who was the last person in the
Minnesota.
division? Minnesota. Yeah, I don't see that. So I'll stick with them. I do see continuity with them as well. Um, you can you can say like they might even get better this season. So yeah, I'm going with them to retain the division title.
This is where I shake it out for me, because my pick here was the Green Bay Packers, and of course, now I've seen them lose to Philadelphia, and Jordan Love might be injured for a while, so that affected my pick here. In general, I just think Green Bay is a very balanced team, especially offensively. Bringing in Josh Jacobs, they would have been good, but I'm going to switch my pick here and I'm going to go with the Chicago Bears. So I'm going to go with a big upset, in my opinion. The Detroit Lions is really good. They have probably the best offensive line in the league. You can protect Jared Goff. But for me, there's a lot of hype on Chicago, but the work Ryan Poles, general manager of Chicago, has done, I think we're going to see some things happen this season. This team last year, ending the season, was pretty good. I don't like their coach very much, Matt Eberflus, but I think he's a good defensive mind. But this offense will be able to carry itself, and the defense will do enough. I think Chicago Bears might have a top 10 defense in the NFL this year, and their offense is more. This offense literally can hang 30 points a lot on people if you allow the offense to go. Because if Caleb Williams can get time to throw the ball and scramble around, watch out, NFL. So here I'm going to go with the upset. I think Detroit is the big favorite to win, but I think both teams can win double digits, and it's going to be like those final 2-3 games. And I think maybe Caleb will be more comfortable in the league, and it's going to be big games. But my big differentiator between two of them is the defense of Chicago. I just trust the defense of Chicago Bears over the defense of the Detroit Lions with Aaron Glenn as the defensive coordinator. That's basically the differentiator for me. The offense of Detroit probably better right now, but by the time Caleb later in the season gets used to it, that offense will get going. And if they have to play a head-to-head game in Detroit in a dome, I think that would Chicago offense might start clicking. But that defense in Chicago, we're gonna hear from a lot of those guys, Montez Sweat, Jalen Johnson, on that Chicago defense. So for me, there's a lot of hype, but I still think people are underrating the Chicago Bears relative to Detroit Lions in that division. So that will be the first one we disagree about. So we're gonna go to the next one.
No, is definitely, I guess, an interesting, yeah, like pick there. I thought you maybe still going to stick with the Green Bay Packers, regardless of Jordan Love's injury. But
Nah,
no, I guess it's a bold pick. I still wouldn't go for it. I just feel like this is a rookie quarterback coming in the league, and I know like they've always had like a decent defense. It might get better with their coaching, but I think yeah, and again, rookie quarterback coming in and just, I know CJ Stroud did it last
yeah,
year.
he did it and
I
he
mean,
won the
it's not
division.
exactly, it's not far fetched, but the reason, I guess, it will make more sense. The reason I'm picking Detroit later on in our preseason predictions,
Yeah.
because I have them kind of like going further in the playoffs. So
Oh
yeah.
yeah, no, I think Detroit can go further in the playoffs. I just think it's gonna be so close that defense might be the reason when two of
And
them
no,
play
and
head to
I
head.
think Detroit made a few changes too in their secondary, for like the secondary of their defense. I think
Yeah, I
they
think so.
got a little bit of
Also, their
of
run
an upgrade.
defense is gonna be better with Ali McNeil. But
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly. So I think they do definitely have an improvement, defensively than last year, and obviously they still have like their great pass rusher in Hutchinson. So yeah, no, I see them retaining it. It will be interesting to see if Chicago, knocks them off it. Definitely,
you know
but
where you
yeah.
were saying the most difficult division is the division between Baltimore, Cleveland,
The AFC
AFC
North,
North.
yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to also say that in my opinion, this will be one of the most fascinating divisions in the league with Detroit, Chicago, Minnesota. Because Minnesota, um, I just like Kevin O'Connell as a coach. So they're going to bring a lot of issues to other teams in that division
Yeah.
just on a given day. And we got Justin Jefferson. When If you look at that offense, taking away Sam Darnold, you have Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, TJ Hawkinson. on that team. You have a
and
two-headed
and I
monster.
think they got what's the running back from Green Bay, Aaron Jones. I think they got Aaron
That's
Jones.
Minnesota, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
you got
yeah.
Aaron Jones on there. So that offense is loaded, in my opinion, minus the quarterback, right? And then you actually have their defense run by Brian Flores, which is a blitz heavy kind of defensive coordinator. So they could be better. So I think they're going to give issues to people. So that division is also a very interesting division
Oh yeah, for
to
sure.
me because of the coaching staff mainly in that division. Yeah, you can go ahead.
Yeah. So the next division winners. The NFC South. So I guess this one is a safe pick. I was actually like torn between the Bucks and the Falcons, but I guess went safe. Went with the Bucks just because they have continuity. Baker Mayfield. Obviously Todd Bowles. Still being there. They always have a defense that you can rely on. So and again, having their core of wide receivers. So yeah, I just went safe for that one. Really, I was 50-50 on this one, to be honest, with the Falcons. I guess the only reason I didn't really go for Kirk is because he's for Atlanta is because Kirk is coming back from that injury last season. So yeah, I'm just giving the edge to the Bucks just because of they have continuity and I can trust their defense a lot.
Oh yeah. Yeah. For this division, actually, as you said, it was between the Bucks basically and Atlanta. I have question marks about both teams.
Oh yeah, yeah. Those both teams are very flawed.
Very
Yeah,
flawed.
yeah.
Very flawed. Mike Evans is a little 1 year older. Chris Godwin is a little bit slower, in
But
my
he's always
opinion.
reliable. Mike
Very
Evans,
yeah.
always reliable.
It always happens. Age catches up, injury comes up. He's so reliable. Last year, I think he just barely missed 1,000 for the first time in
Yeah, I
about
think
7 8 years,
So
about
he's been so
984.
consistent. Yeah, yeah.
So, and then you get Atlanta. I don't like the fact that you give a 30 plus quarterback coming off a very serious injury. I don't just like confidence that gives to me in a new team as well. So for this division, I'm just looking at it and I'm like, this is my least confident that I am in a division. And
And
that
then we talk of the other teams in the New
New
Orleans
Orleans Saints
Saints.
can't trust it. Dennis Allen, the coach,
Yeah,
can't trust Carolina. Obvious, not can't trust. Carolina Panthers is not winning the division.
exactly.
It's a
Definitely not.
transition year for them. They're going to be
Yep.
better offensively, but they're not winning that division. So yes, here is just about trading very little lines. I'm going to trust Todd Bowles here with this Raheem, the current coach of the Atlanta Falcons, is Raheem Morris. This is, I think, first year back coming in.
Yeah.
I don't like situations. There's too much learning, in my opinion, going on in Atlanta. I prefer people that already have things already set out how they want to go, continuity, understanding between. At this point, because Mayfield knows what Chris Godwin wants, who knows what Mike Evans wants. There's a lot of learning between Drake London, Kyle Pitts, with their quarterback, Kyle Cousins. So I'm gonna go with what already does what it does. And one of my fave guys in Tampa Bay, the big man, Vita Vea, he's gonna come crashing down. And if any injury concerns are there for Kai Cousins, he's gonna see the big man coming right at him. Literally,
Oh,
I
yeah.
love when he stops runs,
Yeah.
and it's like this massive human being is gonna actually make you actually feel him every single time. So I love Vita Vea for the Tampa Bay Bucks on the defensive line. So I'll pick the Bucks for that. And then the final division in of as in the NFC West. What do you think?
So that will be the so I'm going with the San Francisco 49ers, obviously, I guess for obvious reasons. To me, I think they're the most talented team in the league, offensively, defensively. They have a great coach that is a great offensive mind in Kyle Shanahan. So yeah, I well, you can think of the Rams, Seahawks. Who else is there again? Arizona
Arizona
Cardinals.
Cardinals.
Nah, like for me, I think they're the most talented team in the league, offensively, defensively. Such a well-rounded, solid team all around. I really don't see anybody peeping them to that division.
Yeah, for this, I'm gonna differ with you again because here I'm actually gonna go outside the box because I don't know what's happening.
Arizona.
Maybe I'm buying the
Oh, yeah.
hype. Maybe I am buying the hype, guys. I might be buying the hype, but I'm gonna go with the Seattle Seahawks. I don't know if there's a hype to it or it's just me. But there's so many things I like about the Seattle Seahawks. Like for me personally, they're getting a great defensive mind, and they have two excellent cornerbacks in Tariq Woolen and um, Witherspoon. So you have two guys that can actually shut down their man one on one, and then you're getting the best defensive coach from last season, in my opinion, coming from the Baltimore Ravens as the head coach. I think their defense is going to be improved. Then offensively, I'm looking at this team. This is going to be the breakout year, guys. You heard it here first for Jackson Smith in Jigba. You're going to be hearing that name. And that what that does is gives them three, in my opinion, reliable wide receivers for Geno Smith. DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, and Jackson Smith in Jigba. And I dare say the best receiver on that team this year is going to be Jackson Smith in Jigba. It's not because DK Metcalf is not as good, but this guy is explosive. Over the course of the end of last season, he came on strong. And I think he's just the fastest, most talented wide receiver right now on that team. And if you know how to coach, you got to bring that out in him. I think Tyler Lockett is a little bit older, so they're going to depend more on him. DK Metcalf, in my opinion, is not always healthy, but Jackson Smith in Jigba is about to go on what we call, or what a lot of people say is the second year rise to become a star in the NFL. He was drafted in the first round. Everybody knew how good he was coming out of Ohio State, one of the really elite receivers coming out of that school. And I just watched him at the end of last year, and the defenders in the NFL are about to be introduced to a star receiver in Jackson Smith in Jigba. It has nothing to do with the fact that he's also African. So, yeah, I'm rooting for him big time for that. But I'm going with the Seattle Seahawks to win that division. And I'm just going on the offset. I think what is my issues here? LA Rams, pretty good. But how are they going to actually deal with losing Aaron Donald, in my opinion? And then for the San Francisco 49ers, this is interesting because for the 49ers, I think they're really good, but I don't like all the Brandon Ayuk drama and bad blood and whatever that's going to come out of that, even though he signed his 4-year, $120 million extension. I don't like that. Having to do all this with Trent Williams and not practicing early and all that, I don't like that. And how bad Brock Purdy looked in the preseason, I don't like that. In my opinion, Deebo Samuel is already a little older. He's been hit a lot. Injury concerns for me all over. We all remember 2 years ago or whatever, this team usually gets injured a lot because of how hard and how physical they play. I think this is on that season that they might just randomly deal with injuries. Last year, they were relatively healthy, but this year, I just think Trent Williams not coming in and training as usual, that's a problem if he's not fully fit. Brandon Ayuk holding in or whatever, I don't like that. And then Christian McCaffrey, 1 year older, was relatively healthy last year. Deebo Samuel plays really hard. George Kittle gets injured a lot. The defensive side lost. I think they lost a couple. I think Eric Armstead, but okay, that was a couple of years ago. But I'm not very comfortable with this basically this team winning over 11 games. And I think Seattle Seahawks can win 11 games because in my opinion, Seattle Seahawks needs to win them head to head at least one game, and they would be a very dangerous team for other teams in the league. My only concern with the Seattle Seahawks, Mike McDonald is a first year coach, so maybe some adjustment has to happen there. But I like the Seattle Seahawks this year.
No, I think it's a good shout for the Seahawks. I'll definitely be keeping an eye out for them this season. But no, I think, like I said, it was a safe pick. I think, barring injuries, obviously, because that changes a lot during the season. But I do trust
Kyle
Kyle
Shanahan.
Shanahan, during the season, because I know, again, the team, they play hard, and that's why what
They play
I
really
they
hard.
play really hard, and that's what I love about them. They always have these injuries, but they have a plethora of offensive weapons. In Christian McCaffrey, Debo Samuel, George Kittle, and Brandon Ayuk. Not to talk of Jennings as well. So no, and again, if there's somebody that knows how to spin that offense, know how to make it work, is Kyle, right? So again, barring injuries, obviously when injuries come, but I think last season they were able to cope relatively well with the injuries. I know Debo was out for like a bit, and I don't know if they had any other big injury concerns, but we know Debo is like, like when you have Debo part of that offense, I think when they went on that 3 game skid, Debo wasn't there. But obviously, they have to prioritize, keeping Debo healthy this season. But not just all about Debo, again, they were able to, resign Trent Williams. I know he's older, but he's a massive man. He moves mountains basically. He moves people's fathers. Like on Sundays, they're watching their fathers being moved by this man, Trent, mammoth of a man. So it's good that they're able to get that deal done. So Brock Purdy having that protection that he can trust. I know he didn't look great in the preseason, but if there's anybody I trust, it's Kyle. Kyle can switch it up, make it that wrong game, trick plays, whatever he needs to do, to get that offense going again. So, but no, I guess good shouts. I do like the Rams, even if
Aaron
they're
Donald.
going to miss Aaron Donald defensively, but I do like the Rams offensively, kind of like just again having that continuity from last year with Puka Nacua, Cooper Cup, and Matthew Stafford. So yeah, I do think the Rams might actually be the ones that might peep these guys, if anybody. That's my prediction, but I'm going to stick with the San Francisco 49ers because it's just hard to ignore the amount of talent that they have offensively and defensively. And we haven't even talked about defensively with
Fred Warner.
Fred Warner, Nick Bosa, Nick Bosa,
Also, yeah.
Nick Bosa, yeah, chasing people, like they owe him money. So yeah,
They
like
probably do.
yeah, exactly. So
Pay the man his money
yeah,
and let him
so
live it.
no, for sure, that will be the roundup of my predictions for the preseason for the division winners.
Yeah, and we're just gonna go quickly in this basically running out of time, so we're gonna go through this quickly and try to do this within the next 13 minutes, and basically do this and round up within the next 13 minutes. But yeah, we're gonna look at the championship predictions and also the Super Bowl predictions for each conference. Basically, the championship game prediction for each conference, and then the Super Bowl, who you think is gonna actually make it to the Super Bowl and win all of it.
Yeah, I guess these picks, to be honest, they're a bit boring because they're almost kind of like a repetition of last season. I thought long and hard, to kind of like see if there's anybody else that I'd rather. But I guess for the AFC, I have the Chiefs and the Baltimore Ravens meeting up again. But I think this time around will be at a different venue, to be at Arrowhead Stadium, because I am predicting the Chiefs to have the number one overall seed in the AFC. So I think Baltimore will be making the journey this time around, and I see Mahomes peeping them again to make it all the way to the Super Bowl. Because I think for me, it's almost automatic at this point. Mahomes going to his seventh straight AFC championship game. I think that's almost kind of like inevitable at this point. Obviously, my next pick would kind of like shed more light on why I'm going, with the Chiefs, and the Baltimore Ravens. Yeah, because when I think of all the other like division winners that I think would be able to like play in the AFC Championship game. Again, I really really like Baltimore. I don't see any team again barring injuries that would really stop them. I think they do have the continuity as well, and again the addition of Derrick Henry, which was my favorite offseason move, and yeah, so I see them running it back in the AFC Championship game, and I see the Chiefs keeping them. Not by much, but yeah, making it all the way to the Super Bowl.
And for my AFC, it's gonna kind of align with a little with the division pickers. Kansas City Chiefs makes it to the conference championship, barring any unforeseen circumstances. And my other pick here would be the New York Jets, getting to that championship final. And basically, based on what you said, I'm just going off of that. Be like, if any defense can stop Lamar and that Derrick Henry, I think the Jets is the only one that has a chance. And if Aaron Rodgers can be healthy, in my opinion, the Baltimore defense is not as good as they were last year. So uh, getting into that position, Brees Hall, the running back, I think Jets can get there, and I will pick the Kansas City Chiefs to, beat
Yeah,
the
no,
Jets. Yeah.
I guess I thought of the Jets, but I thought it would be like a bold prediction. like we said earlier, the dysfunction in that
It
organization
bothers me.
definitely comes into play. So them making it all the way to the AFC Championship, I think then at that point it's almost like there's no dysfunction in the organization. You know what I mean? So just for that reason and that reason alone, I feel like it catches up with them, and I don't see them making it all the way to the championship. Maybe they can make it to the second round and then lose out.
The thing I would say is the reason I made that pick is when I thought of a one-on-one matchup with the Baltimore Ravens, like in the divisional round. I thought that is a team that can beat the Baltimore Ravens to get to Kansas City, right? But if you ask me on another day, I would say they would not even get to the divisional round. They could lose in the wild card round.
Yeah,
So that is
it's the defense,
that's
right?
the
The defense,
difference.
yeah, yeah,
That's the core
yeah,
thing, right?
yeah.
I think the coaches might mess it up in the wild card round, something like
Exactly.
that.
All
But
it takes is just one, offensive play gone wrong, and
yeah, but when I
it's
think of
take
them
advantage of
matching up
it.
against Baltimore, they can win that matchup. So it's kind of interesting to me. I think the Chiefs are going to be the number one seed and just basically get easier
Being able to like
matchups,
avoid, that
avoid
matchup
those
before the
matchups.
championship game. Yeah, yeah.
Exactly. That's kind of my thought process. And then we'll go to the NFC.
So the NFC again, I have repeat, I guess repetition of last year. The Lions and the 49ers meeting, but this time around, I do have the Lions beating the 49ers to make it all the way to the Super Bowl.
This time, I usually like those kind of situations. I think the team that lost kind of learns a lot from the previous time,
Exactly.
improves and
Yeah.
stuff. For the NFC, it's I'm gonna go with the Eagles against the um, against the Detroit Lions. And it goes back to what I said earlier about my lack of trust in the 49ers this year. It still goes to the same thing. I think if the Eagles matches up with the 49ers, just talent wise and just the way it is set up, in my opinion, this season, with Vic Vancio being the defensive coordinator for the Eagles and Kellen Moore now being the offensive coordinator, I like a lot of the things they did there in Philadelphia. So I say they play against the Detroit. This time, I would have the same sentiment and say Detroit goes over the hump against the Eagles as well. Yes, the Eagles has been at the Super Bowl before, but I think Detroit might actually have the advantage to actually play the Kansas City Chiefs. And I'm going to go first here. I say the Chiefs win three-peats. That's my preseason pick. Things can happen over the season, but I just can't see any other person beating Patrick Mahomes and this team this season. I would have to wait to see it before I change my opinion on that for now.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. I think we are on the same boat there. I see Mahomes winning, the three peats, doing it three times in a row, being the first team in
Ever.
history ever to do it. Now it's not going to be easy. But one thing I'll say about Kansas is their defense. I know it's not well, it has improved. Obviously, everybody knows that, but I feel like it's not talked about enough because they have Patrick Mahomes, right?
Yeah.
The best quarterback in the league right now. So yeah, that defense last season, I was almost in awe watching Coach Spag doing his thing and watching Lajarus Sneed. Unfortunately, they had to lose him this season to
Tennessee
to ten
Titans.
to the Titans. And again, him last season and McDuffie.
Yeah.
That secondary
Sneed
was
and Trent.
yeah
Yeah.
that secondary was something special to see. So again, the saying, points, touchdowns will win you games. Defense is what wins you championships, and that defense is not, to me, is not getting as much credit as it should. I know they lost Lajarus Need, and that's a
That's
big
a
loss.
big one because I
It's
thought
a
Lajarius was a
Oh
shutdown.
yeah, he was, definitely was. But again, whatever they lose defensively, Mahomes will make it up offensively, and them having a better offense this year is what we are predicting, right? But no, that defense, to me, going into Baltimore and being able to slow them down the way they did last year in that AFC Championship game, yeah, I don't think it's talked about enough. So that's why I'm kind of like rooting towards the Chiefs, because I know like before now, like the Super Bowl before this one that they won against the San Fran, they had beat the Eagles. It was 38-35, just by a field goal, right? And you could tell like the offense had to do a lot, right? But I'm telling you, man, the defense, the defense like the way the defense rose last season and showed up, because defense is travel. That's what people need to understand, like especially in the postseason, right? Like they didn't have that home court advantage, playing at Arrowhead, so they had to go to Buffalo and they won. The defense came up. Obviously, Mahomes did his thing, and again they had to travel to Baltimore. The defense traveled there again, and they were able to I don't know if you remember that play from Lajarius where he stopped as a Flowers just before he broke the line, and I thought that was a ridiculous play, and that is defense right there. You need those kind of plays, right? And they were able to get it last season. So I think whatever they've lost defensively this year, Mahomes makes it up offensively. I think they will be a little better offensively than they were last year. But again, that defense, I think it has really gotten better. And again, obviously, the leader of the defense, Chris Jones, he's back.
Let's talk about this. How many wins do we think, barring any injuries, the Kansas City Chiefs wins this year?
I think they win.
I think they win 6 out
14.
of 6 in their division.
Oh yeah, like I think like overall, I think they win up to 14 games.
So 14-3.
14-3, yeah. Because I see them having the number 1 overall seed in the AFC.
I think the minimum they would win is 12.
Oh yeah, that's the minimum. That's the minimum. So I see them just giving that extra
barring
2.
any major injuries.
Yeah.
Even when you look at them scoring 27 points on the Baltimore Ravens, I don't think people get it. Baltimore Ravens is going to be probably a top 10 defense.
Yeah, and 27 points is nothing to sneeze home.
It's nothing to sneeze
when you put that on like the Baltimore defense.
Let's put that on the Denver Broncos defense. That's going to be 35 to 40 points.
Yeah. No.
What do you think is going to happen against the Las Vegas Raiders?
The Raiders, exactly.
Because they're going to have the possession 10 times because their offense
is
not going to move
so
the ball.
So it's 6-0 in the division.
Yeah.
All they have to win left is what? 8 games to make it 14 wins. Oh yeah, I see that. That's doable. It's Patrick Mahomes you're talking about with his new weapons offensively. I see. Yeah, I can see the.
Guys,
you can say minimum of 12.
I would say minimum 14, of 12.
14.
A high of 17 out of 17.
Ooh, an unbeaten season going for the treble. Like, that would be the tripit. Yeah.
For real, are they going to be underdogs this season, even when they go away in any game against anybody in the NFL right now?
No, I don't really see it.
You don't see that?
Yeah, because now they're back-to-back Super Bowl champions, so you have to put that respect on them. You know what I'm saying? Like Absolutely. It's not like last season.
You heard it here first. The Kansas City Chiefs could go 17-0, even though I don't fully believe that. But I would say 14-3 would be, in my opinion, that would be the best position actually to put them. I think 13-4, 14-3 kind of sounds about right.
I'm a believer because last season, the way the season started for them, when you watch them play offensively, it looked like they struggled. And then for them to go on the road and still win the Super Bowl, at this point, I'm like, something
special,
something bad really has to happen for them not to go all the way.
Yes.
Now obviously, like, we know no team has ever done it. We're not saying like it's going to be easy for them to do it, but it is possible. I see it, like I can see it happening.
Absolutely.
And it is Patrick Mahomes we're talking about here. Yeah, like in the postseason, he takes it to like another level, right? So I definitely see it happening, or can see it happening.
Yeah, I was just trying to look at the schedule here to see who they're playing next week. But yes, I actually think that's interesting. We're almost at 90 minutes here, so we're gonna conclude for this episode. We got other things that we needed to talk about, like the offseason in soccer and also the Paris Olympics. We're gonna still talk about that as soon as we can. But this whole NFL talk was so interesting. I'm super excited. Like, guys, I can't even explain to you how excited I am. The NFL is here. We're going on this channel. There's going to be a lot of content. If you got to this part of the video, I appreciate it. That means you're enjoying this content. I really appreciate it. Don't forget, subscribe, like, share, comment. Also, on this channel, over the course of the year, there's going to be multiple content coming. There's going to be me and Albert going through several sports, mainly the basketball, NBA, the NFL, and soccer. It's mainly the Champions League and Premier League.
Yeah.
But if there's big information on there that I want to talk about, I'm going to be talking that with Albert on here on this show. There's going to be other content on the channel. There's Put Your Money Where Your Mouth Is. There's a handicapping contest follow-up every week. There's going to be a fantasy show on here as well, and also a kind of a soccer roundup for the soccer fans also on the channel. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be busy on here. Don't forget, like, share, subscribe. Any final words, Albert?
No, for sure. It will be an interesting season. I know, like, preseason, and again, let's say this, the preseason picks, selections that we've made here, injuries can really change, the course of the season. So, we do reserve the right to, make a few changes,
Always.
not like the whole thing, but like, again, barring anything drastic, I hope I get to, stick with my picks all throughout the season. So yeah.
That would be really fun. I would love that. The two picks we disagreed on, I am going to be rooting for the Chicago Bears and the Seattle Seahawks
And I'll be
all
rooting,
season.
and I'll be rooting against them the whole season.
So that's gonna be fun. I enjoyed this. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Okay,
Let's see how the season progresses.
Yes, excited. Peace.